What's going on? Today's video, remember all our topics, or all the topics that we touch on, are all topics that for some are going to be uncomfortable because it challenges their inherited beliefs. So some topics are going to come across as emotionally charged or taboo, but nevertheless, these are topics that need to be spoken about. Look at it as they're topics that challenge not only if you're an open-minded person, but they're also topics that challenge whether you're a biological adult or an actual mental adult. But just listening to a Rick Ross verse, and he was speaking of. He said in that verse, he had a bar where God forgives and I don't. And I've heard that so much in my life about how God forgives. And I was thinking to myself, tonight when I heard it, which was only just moments ago, I was thinking to myself, does God forgive? What does that really mean? When we say God forgives, what does that really mean? Because when I see like when I see a blade of grass get cut, it can get cut in half and grow back again. If a human being gets cut in half, that's just a half a human being. I asked my boy about that. I said that to my boy, and he said, well, that's just a self-defense mechanism. Myself, that's true. That's true. Maybe I'm looking at forgiveness wrong in that instance, at least. Because what we do, if we say we lost an eye or hearing in one of our ears, what nature does is it gives us compensation. It compensates by giving you better hearing in your good eye, or giving you better sight in your good eye and better hearing in your good ear, or what have you. Same thing if you lose an arm or what have you. So in that case, in that situation, you have compensation. Now, when we are talking about forgiveness, let's put it in a human societal scenario of forgiveness, where you do something wrong and nature forgives. Nature excuses you. Nature gives you a pass. That's what we're proposing when we say that God forgives. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what we're saying? When we say that God forgives, we're basically saying that God is suspending all laws of nature simply because you deserve forgiveness for some wrong, some ill act that you commit, and feel that you deserve forgiven for whatever reason. Now, when we say something like that, it seems to defy the laws of physics. It seems to defy the laws of logic. And as we all know, in the same way my voice is being spoken to you right now, and the same way everything else that we do is based on logic, including using our phones, driving our cars, our vehicles work based on logic, we walk based on logic. It would seem to me that the concept that we look at as forgiveness in terms of between us relative to a deity, it would seem to me that is outside the realm of reality, of actuality. To forgive someone, we have the ability to forgive each other. When someone does something wrong to us, we have the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to move beyond that and give you a reprieve, give that other reprieve, and move forward from that incident, that event, in the hopes that it will not happen again, that you can trust that to not happen again. Now, is trust returned fully when someone forgives? No, I wouldn't say necessarily so. Not between individuals, but you've made a conscious effort. You're putting forth a conscious effort to say that I'm not going to hold this against this person, this wrong act, that this wrong action that this person did against them in the future, going forward in the future, to give them the benefit of the doubt going forward. But you acknowledge that they have done something wrong. Now, in terms of that, I'm going to say that that is something, though I am proposing that there is a God, God does not work in this romanticized conception that we have associated or attributed to it. First off, we've attributed a gender to God, which, why would God need a gender? It's immortal. Why would anything that's immortal need a gender? Does God does God need to does God need to procreate? It would just seem like that outside the realm, or outside of it doesn't even seem to me that God would need a physical form. Why would God need even a physical form? God would be of a form that more of energy, more like energy than our physical matter, if anything. First off. Second off, for God to put us in we're the God. Remember, that's what we're assuming in this discussion about, does God forgive? So in order for God to forgive, we're assuming that there is a God, correct? And I am professing that by my work, my calculations, that there is a God. More than one, by the way, but let's go with your version of God as a singular being. Now, assuming that there is a God, we're assuming that God put us in the cosmos to put us in situations that requires its forgiveness of us. First off, that proposal alone right there does not sound like love. Unless the only way that would be love, and it wouldn't even be love, we would have to look at it as a fairness. Because when I look in life, there is a fairness. I know we like to say that life's not fair. But it all depends on if you're looking at life from an objective view and not just your own subjective human view. If you're looking at life from the way it's intended to be looked at, from a way that we are capable of looking, that's the reason why you know it's intended to be looked at it this way. From an objective view, from, let's say, nature's view. Don't look at it as a being with the human characteristics that our genetics paint everything that we conceive of with. Look at it outside of that. Look at it outside of yourself, outside of your species for a moment, outside of nationality and gender for a moment. Just look at it as an intelligent being for a moment, and look at nature. When you look at nature like that, you would see that for God to there's a fairness in nature, because it is a challenge after all. It's challenging on all levels. So it's an overall challenge. It's a challenge. It's a macrocosmic challenge that holds within it, that is comprised of microcosmic level challenges, microcosmic levels of challenges. Is its composition is. That's what life experience is. It's a challenge. As I've purported in other videos, it's a computer program basically. It's a virtual reality computer program running, and being that that's what it is. Everything is algorithmic. Everything is sequential. Everything is a process, a procedure. 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? Before my arm could get stretched out, it had to first be laying relaxed by my side. See what I'm saying? Everything is before these words that I'm saying now, I had to first start with the words that started this video. Everything's a sequence that's playing out. We're proceeding along to something. That's the reason why there's a past. I was looking in the garbage today and I was thinking to myself, wow, that's all the past. I was like, wow, that's history. I looked in the garbage can and I really thought to myself, I was like, wow, that's actually history. That's this week's history. Anyway, this is why I was taking out the trash. The things that come to my mind. At first, I thought it was a curse. I understand that it all has a meaning to something. It's all been a patchwork to something that's formed a glorious picture of what the cosmos really is. I don't mind it now, but coming up, wow, this is horrible. To just always look at something and be able to twist it around and look at it in all kind of weird ways, and no one else relates to it. It's like you're just like, oh man, I'm like a loon. This is horrible. Anyway, so being that it is already a program, being that what I'm saying is that time is sitting there and we're just going through it, meaning that the future is already played out. It's only it sits there. Time sits there as a box, whatever shape you want to put it in, a circle, a triangle, whatever shape you want to look at it. Let's just say time is just a substance, a block that sits there, and it has the viscosity to allow motion in all directions. But at all times, you're always facing the future, no matter which way you're pointed. You feel that you're pointed in. At all times, you're always facing the future within this block of substance called time that allows motion. Meaning that the future is already set, because initially, what time started out from its onset, continues to be to this day, is possibilities, possibilities and outcomes, with probabilities, meaning conditions being met or unmet, happening in between. There is no forgiveness. Forgiveness was the opportunity that we get to realize we're in a game, that we're in a challenge, to have the ability to the capability to beat the challenge, which is life experience, is the forgiveness part of it. That's the fairness in being within the cosmos, about God putting us in the cosmos, about us being in here. Because we cannot have it both ways, where we're saying, oh, God's forgiveness, God's about love, life's about love, and then not be able to reconcile it with, then why are we in the cosmos? Why would God have us in the cosmos if life's about love? Why would God put us in the cosmos if life's about love? The cosmos is a wilderness. It's hostile to us. It's look at history. Look at history up to today. Look at current events. So how can you reconcile that with love if you're not going to fully explain that in some kind of logical way? That's what it is. People have to start being able to be accountable. for the words that they speak. As a social species, it is morally irresponsible of anyone to speak nonsense to another human being because you're poisoning that other human being. It's like a heroin addict getting some young kid hooked on heroin and bragging about it. Oh man, another reason why there's consequence. Another reason why there's consequence. We recognize karma. We recognize irony. We recognize karma. We recognize consequence. We recognize that when we do an action that merits a consequence, that consequence happens. We may not like it. That's why we come up with things like FML. We say things like FML, and we'll curse nature, we'll curse the world, we'll blame others. We take self-responsibility for our own actions. But what happens are consequences. Another reason for irony and the whole karma thing, and why you know that there's no such thing as God forgiving you, is the fact that bad things is the occurrences of bad things happening to good people at times, and excuse me, did I say that right? Bad things happening to good people at times, and conversely, good things happening to bad people at times. How do you reconcile that if you're speaking of God as love and God has this understandable logic? And then we love to say things that God works in mysterious ways, as if it's beyond our understanding. It's a brain. God collectively gave each of us individually a brain, and collectively as a society, as a human race, in total, we are one giant brain, one giant genius. There is nothing beyond our grasp because God has made it, designed the mechanism, this behavior modification mechanism called the cosmos. It's designed this life experience that we must prove ourselves by overcoming challenge, by challenging ourselves, overcoming our very self, overcoming this inner conflict within our minds, between our emotions and our intellect, between our judgment and our impulse. That's what's been set forth before us. That's no forgiveness beyond the fact that we have an ability. We control our own fate. We control our own destiny. That's the reason why we have the ability to set up scenarios using elements within life. That's the reason why we're able to configure elements. That's the mathematical part of life. Another attribute of mathematics within life, we can set up outcomes. We can manipulate scenarios in life to set up the outcome. That's a chance that's not a coincidence or a blind occurrence. Experience fundamentally is about human beings finding themselves on Earth, within space, completely ignorant, in triple staged ignorance to what's going on. It's a solve for X problem. And the same way how there's death to give us urgency in that act, So an ultimate death, a special death, to give us urgency within successfully our group objective. We not only have individual objectives, but we have a group objective. And there's a scoring system in this. That's the very reason why there's value. The ability to create and destroy value. The very reason why there is the ability to waste time as well as make valuable use of time. We're to be pursuing what's going on, what life is really about. We're to be pursuing the communication that life is giving us. That's the reason why it's self-evident. It's constantly telling us, giving us clues as to what it's about, what we are to be doing. There is no forgiveness. There is no such thing. There's fairness. And there's urgency. Leave your comments. To agree or disagree. And please leave a logic behind your comment if you disagree. Because I like to hear other people's perspectives, but don't just leave us a soundbite of God forgives. That's all I know. You know, like that's not a logic. That means you have no idea why you're just saying what you're saying things. And that's the very point of what I'm trying to avoid. We've got enough of that in society. It's rampant. It's rampant. It's a epidemic of a bunch of people who don't know what they're talking about. They're just talking. And there has to be there's consequence to that as well. It's called throwaway lines, throwaway dialogue. It has no use whatsoever. There's no value in it. And time is of the essence. Time is valuable. Each moment is valuable. That's the reason why there's death. So small talk is literally a waste of your valuable time.